seated.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the time now is 11 a.m. We've already had our national anthem, so the quorum required by Article 13 of the Company's Article of Association is 2 members present in person or proxy. Can the registrar confirm that the quorum has been formed?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the High Table, and esteemed shareholders. My name is Bukola James Cole, and I represent Coronation Registrars Limited, formerly United Securities Limited, registered to Dangote Cement PLC. We have 6 shareholders attending in person, and we have 390 shareholders attending by proxy, with a total of 15,200,781,282 shares, representing 89.2038% of the issued and fully paid up shares of the company. With this information, we hereby confirm that a quorum has been duly formed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. James Cole. The meeting is therefore duly convened and properly constituted. Accordingly, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to the 12th Annual General Meeting of our company, which I now declare open. I wish to inform you that this meeting is being held by proxy, further to the approval of the Corporate Affairs Commission, the NGX Regulation Limited, formerly known as the Nigerian Stock Exchange, and the Lagos State Safety Commission. In addition, it is being streamed live for the benefit of our shareholders, regulators, and others who are not physically present. May I request that Dr. Farouk to say the opening prayer, please.
We pray to Allah to help us have a successful meeting. We pray for good health for our chairman, our directors, management and staff of Dangote Cement. And we pray for peace and stability in this country. And we pray to God to guide our leaders and help our economy to grow and bless this company and make us make more profit for shareholders in this financial year. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al-mursaleen walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Amen.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Farouk. There are 8 items of business before you today. You all have an opportunity to move or to second each of the motions put to the meeting and to make contributions as you may wish. There will be an opportunity for questions on each motion before a vote is taken on it. Please ensure that you raise your hand and receive approval before you speak. Microphones and amplifying equipment have been placed strategically so that everyone should be able to hear. I will therefore request that you speak audibly and commence by stating your names. The Register of Directors Shareholding is available for inspection during this meeting in compliance with Section 301, Subsection 8 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020. Before we proceed to the more formal matters on the agenda, I would like to take this opportunity to introduce to you the directors of your company. I'm Aliko Dangote, the chairman of your company. On my left is Mr. Michel Kuchakos. Next to him is Mr. Olakule Alake. On my right is Mr. Edward Umedeme. the Deputy Company Secretary, and next to him is Mr. Mahmoud Kazauri, the Group Company Secretary. And next to him, which we're still expecting, is Mr. Emmanuel Ikazabu. He will be with us very soon. I would also like to introduce the Chairman of the Audit Committee, Mr. Robert Ade Odiachi. In view of the ongoing COVID pandemic, our other directors as well as the Audit Committee members are joining the meeting virtually. I'm therefore representing these directors, while the shareholders representatives on the Audit Committee are represented by Mr. Robert Ade Odiachi. Nevertheless, I would like to introduce them to you. The other directors are Mr. Ernest Ebi, MFR, Mr. Biswanathan Shankar, Sir Michael Davis, Mr. Deva Kumar Edwin, Mrs. Dorothy Ufot, SAN, Mrs. Cherry Blair, CBE QC, Mr. Sani Dangote, Mr. Abdul Dantata, Mr. Dred Dogoni, and Ms. Belina Marul. The other shareholders representatives on the Audit Committee are Mr. Nicholas Nyamali and Mr. Sharif Yusuf Mojirola. I also introduce the representatives of the NGX Regulation Limited, Mr. Ghosttime Iwenekai. Is he here? Okay. The Securities and Exchange Commission is Taiwo Odusanya. Our registrars, Coronation Registrars Limited, Mrs. Bukola James Cole, Duni Okebimele, Ruki Otomeo. Our independent auditors, KPMG Professional Services, is Mr. Goodluck Obi. I also wish to introduce to shareholders present who are also acting as proxies for the shareholders that cannot physically be present. Due to the pandemic, they are Sir Unwosu, Sir Sonny Unwosu, Dr. Umar Farouk, Mr. Nona Awo, and Mrs. BC Bakari. I now call on the Deputy Company Secretary to read the notice of the meeting. Edward.
Good morning, Distinguished Chairman. Good morning, Distinguished Chairman. Good morning, Distinguished Chairman, members of the Board of Directors, esteemed shareholders, ladies and gentlemen. I hereby present to you the notice of the 12th Annual General Meeting of Dangote Cement PLC. Notice of Annual General Meeting. Notice is hereby given that the 12th Annual General Meeting of Dangote Cement PLC will hold on Wednesday, 26 May 2021 at the Jasmine Hall, Eco Hotel and Suite, Victoria Island, Lagos at 11 o'clock to transact the following business: ordinary business, to receive the audited financial statement for the year ended 31st December 2020 and the report of directors, auditors, and audit committees thereon, to declare dividend, to elect and re-elect directors, to authorize the director to fix the remuneration of the auditors, to elect shareholder representatives to the statutory audit committee, to disclose the remuneration of managers. Special business, to consider and if thought fit.
It's okay.
To consider.
It's okay.
Yeah. Special business, sorry. To consider and if thought fit, pass the following as special resolutions of the company: to fix the remuneration of directors, to renew the share buyback program established pursuant to the resolution of the company dated January 22, 2020, on such term and condition and within such timelines as the board may determine, subject to obtaining regulatory approvals. Note: preparation. In view of COVID-19 pandemic, the company has taken various steps to ensure the safety of attendees as well as compliance with COVID-19 safety guidelines. These include the provision of sanitizer, masks, and gloves at the venue, as well as the checking of temperature and ensuring social distancing between attendees. Proxies. Attendance at the AGM shall only be by proxies in view of the COVID-19 pandemic and in compliance with regulatory approval to hold the meeting by proxy. A proxy form is included in the annual report. A member entitled to attend and vote at the AGM is advised to select from the following proxies to attend and vote in his stead. The proxies are Alhaji Aliko Dangote, GCON, Mr. Olakunle Alake, Mr. Emmanuel Kazuba, Mr. Michel Portugues, Sir Sonny Nwosu, Dr. Umar Farouk, Mr. Nona Awo, and Mrs. Bisi Bakari. Closure of Register of Member. Notice is hereby given to the Register of Member and the transfer of books of the company will be closed on the 28th April 2021. Payment of dividend. If the dividend recommended by the Board of Directors is approved by the shareholder at this annual general meeting, dividend will be paid on the 27th May 2021 to the shareholders whose name appear in the company register of member at the close of business on the 27th April 2021. A list of unclaimed dividend is available on the company's website. Shareholders with unclaimed dividend are with unclaimed share certificate or unclaimed dividend. Shareholders with unclaimed share certificate or unclaimed dividends should address their claims to the registrar, Coronation Registrar Limited at the inform@coronationregistrar.com or 9 Amodu Ajokutu Street, Victoria Island, Lagos. E-dividend registration. Notice is hereby given to all shareholders to open bank accounts, brokering accounts, and CSCS account for the purpose of receiving dividend payment electronically. A detachable e-mandate activation form is included in the annual report to enable shareholders provide their details to the registrar. Nomination to the Audit Committee. In accordance with the Company and Allied Water Act 2020, a shareholder may nominate another shareholder for the appointment of a member of the Audit Committee by giving notice to the Secretary at least 21 days before the annual general meeting. Right of securities holder to ask questions. Security holders have the right to ask questions not only at the annual general meeting, but also in writing prior to the meeting. Questions should be submitted to the company secretary at the company registered office up to 2 days before the date of the annual general meeting. Streaming. The annual general meeting will be streamed live from our website, www.dangotecement.com, and our YouTube channel, www.youtube.com/Dangote Group. Share buyback program. The company established a share buyback program for the purchase of up to 10% of its total issued share from shareholders, the program. However, COVID-19 pandemic made it challenging to fully implement the program as planned. With the stabilization of the stock market and improvement in the economic conditions, the Board of Directors has decided that it is in the best interest of the company and its shareholder to undertake further tranches of the program. By order of the board. Signed, Company Secretary, Mr. Gazauri. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Emoy Demhe. It is necessary to draw the attention of shareholders to the measures we have taken as a responsible corporate citizens due to the COVID-19 pandemic. In compliance with the federal and state directives, the number of people present at this meeting is within the limit stipulated by prevailing regulations. In addition, we have taken several precautionary steps, including the provisions of sanitizers, masks, and gloves at this venue, as well as the checking of temperatures and ensuring social distancing between attendees. Before we move to item 1 on the agenda, let me present to you the chairman's statement, which is contained in pages 8 to 9 in the annual report and accounts that has already been circulated. Do you agree that we should take it as being read? Okay, thank you. Thank you, distinguished shareholders. There are 8 items. There are 8 agenda items to be deliberated on today. Pursuant to the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020, I hereby demand a poll on all items on the agenda apart from item 5 and 6. Please note that voting for the resolution in respect of each agenda item will be carried out electronically. Each shareholder has been given a voting device, and the results will be displayed online for all those attending virtually to view. I will now invite the registrar to provide an explanation about the electronic voting. Registrar, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Here's a brief description of the voting process. Having gotten the requisite approval to hold a proxy meeting, we have captured a total number of 390 shareholders voting details received by proxy and holding 15,168,793,673 units of Dangote Cement PLC, representing 89.01% of the issued share capital. Hence, the voting results will be displayed in addition to the votes that will be cast here today. When you came in this morning, shareholders were provided with a voting device that has been configured to represent your shareholding in Dangote Cement PLC. After the resolutions have been read out, the shareholders are to cast their votes. Kindly note that on your respective voting devices, the button A/1/A is for a yes vote, and 2/B is for a no vote. Once we announce that the voting has commenced, please press the referenced button in accordance with your decision or choice. And note that each shareholder can change their votes during the voting period. But once the voting period has ended, the last button you press will be recorded as your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. James Cole. We will now move on to item 1 on the agenda. As I'm sure that you agree, we have had the report and accounts for the period ended December 31st, 2020 for the required statutory period. I would now like to formally lay before the meeting the annual reports and accounts, including the audited financial statements for the year ended 31st December 2020, together with the reports of the directors, auditors, and the audit committee thereon. I will now ask the representative of the auditors to read reports of the auditors, which is on page 154 to 158 of the annual reports and accounts.
Good morning, distinguished chairman, members of the board, and distinguished shareholders. My name is Dr. Goodluck Obi. The auditor's report can be found on pages 154 through 158. As the chairman has said, I would like to crave the indulgence of the board and members of the company to read certain aspects of the report and take the other aspects as read, if you would permit me. Thank you. Independent auditor's report to the shareholders of Dangote Cement PLC. Reports on the audit of the consolidated and separate financial statements. Opinion. We have audited the consolidated and separate financial statements of Dangote Cement PLC, the company, and its subsidiaries, together the group, which comprise the consolidated and separate statements of financial position as at 31st December 2020, the consolidated and separate statement of profit or loss, the consolidated and separate statement of comprehensive income, the consolidated and separate statement of changes in equity, the consolidated and separate statement of cash flows for the year then ended, and the notes comprising significant accounting policies and other explanatory information. In our opinion, The accompanying consolidated and separate financial statements give a true and fair view of the consolidated and separate financial position of the company and its subsidiaries as at 31st December 2020, and of its consolidated and separate financial performance and its consolidated and separate cash flows for the year then ended, in accordance with International Financial Reporting Standards, IFRSs, and in the manner required by the Companies and Allied Matters Act, CAMA 2020, and the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria Act 2011. Key audit matters. The key audit matters are those matters that, in our professional judgment, were of most significance in our audit of the consolidated and separate financial statements of the current period. These matters were addressed in the context of our audit of the financial statements as a whole and informing our opinion thereon, and we do not provide a separate opinion on these matters. These key audit matters apply to the audit of the consolidated and separate financial statements. The key audit matters are shown. So I will go to the last page on page 158, and I will take the last paragraph, report on other legal and regulatory requirements. Compliance with the requirements of Schedule 5 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act, CAMA 2020. 1. We have obtained all the information and explanations which, to the best of our knowledge and belief, were necessary for the purpose of our audit. 2. In our opinion, proper books of accounts have been kept by the company so far as appears from my examination of those books. 3. The company's financial statements, the company's statement of financial position, statement of profit or loss, and statement of comprehensive income are in agreement with the books of account. Signed by myself on behalf of KPMG. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Obi. I think you've gone through the So I now put the motion to a vote. You have 20 seconds. Please cast your vote. The registrar will read. Sorry, audit, sorry, which page? Yes. Sorry, thank you, Mr. Obi. In accordance with the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020, the Audit Committee duly carried out their duties as required on the accounts for the period ended 31st December 2020. I now ask the Chairman of the Audit Committee, Mr. Robert Ade-Odiachi, to read the Audit Committee report, which is on page 150 of the annual reports and accounts. Mr. Robert Odiachi, please.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, and members of the Board of Directors, and my fellow shareholders. It's my pleasure to present to you the report of the Statutory Audit Committee, which can be found on page 150 of the financial statements. In accordance with Section 4047 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act, CAMA 2020, and Section 34 of the SEC Code, the members of the Statutory Audit Committee of Dangote Cement PLC hereby report as follows. We have exercised our statutory functions under Section 4047 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act, CAMA 2020, and we acknowledge the cooperation of the Board, management, and staff in the conduct of these responsibilities. After careful consideration of the report of the external auditors, we accepted the report that the financial statements give a true and fair view of the state of the group and company's financial affairs as at the 31st December 2020. We confirm that the accounting and reporting policies of the group and company are in accordance with legal and regulatory requirements as well as agreed ethical practices. We reviewed the scope and planning of audit requirements and found them adequate. We reviewed the findings on the management letter prepared by the external auditors and found management responses to the findings satisfactorily. The accounting and internal control systems is constantly and effectively being monitored through an effective internal audit function. We made recommendations to the board on the appointment and remuneration of the external auditors, and also reviewed the provision made in the financial statements for the remuneration of the external auditors, and we considered that the external auditors are independent and qualified to perform their duties effectively. The committee therefore recommends that the audited financial statements for the year ended 31st December 2020 and the external auditor's report thereon be presented for adoption at the annual general meeting. Signed by me, on behalf of members of the Statutory Audit Committee, Nicholas Inyamali, shareholders representative, Sharif Yusuf, shareholders representative, Olakule Alake, non-executive director, Ernest Ebi, independent non-executive director, and Emmanuel Ikazabo, independent non-executive director. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Robert Adeodiachi. I'll be pleased to answer questions which you may have on the reports and accounts before we proceed to the next item of business. Are there any questions before the motion is put to the meeting, please? Yes, Chief Sonny.
Good morning, the chairman of the board of Dangote Cement. Good morning, distinguished directors. And good morning, very distinguished shareholders of Dangote Cement. Mr. Chairman, I'm delighted to be here to represent the number of shareholders, minority shareholders, and other shareholders who are unable to make it today. I want to start by congratulating our company for attaining a trillion mark in turnover. We are very happy that we are moving in the best way of corporate governance. Mr. Chairman, I also like to refer you to these pages, which speaks for itself. Page from 05 to 07. It speaks clearly on the effort that we have achieved in the year under consideration, 2020. But my concern on page 5 is Ghana, that we have only 6% share of the market. And I think my understanding is that there are certain things that has to do with production of cement that do not exist in Ghana. So, and I want us to take a second look on Ghana if it's not going to match the progression in other countries. We decide on what to do about Ghana. Mr. Chairman, today we all know that we have housing gap in the country, and almost 95% of every building has cement content. We have a very bad situation in this country that cement is going for 4,000 plus. It is my due respect to you to find out what are we doing to bring down the cost of cement in this country so that the country will be able to move ahead to tackle the building gap in this country. A lot of good hands have been pointed on Aliko Dangote Cement, that they have what it takes to pump in a lot of cement to bring down the price of cement in this country. So it's very important that this issue should be taken seriously and to also create an opportunity that those that may not be able to buy cement at 4,000 will be able to buy it cheaper and continue to build. Mr. Chairman, I am also very happy, but I want us to look at page 6. Under page 6, we'll see what we did in 2018, because it speaks for itself. If you look at 2018 on profit after tax, even though we achieved plus 37.7 on the year under consideration, but in 2018, we were able to make 390 billion.3. So, and today we have produced more cements than what we produced in 2018. What's actually the matter? Why would we not achieve far more than what we achieved in 2018 at this time? Mr. Chairman, I also want to talk about share buyback. Now, are we buying these shares back in order to discourage minority shareholders in this company? It's very, very important that the minority shareholders should understand this share buyback, because our own understanding internationally of share buyback is that once a share is buyback, it's cancelled. Those shares that we must have purchased will be cancelled from the capital base of the company. So it is very important for the board, through the chairman, to clarify this position so that we will know our position, bearing in mind that even the float that we are carrying now is still not within the position of Nigerian Stock Exchange. So minority shareholders still need more shares, and that's why it's very important for us to understand the issue of the share buyback the way we are looking at it. Mr. Chairman, I want us to look at the capital gap of this company. There is a legislation which came out of government, the regulators, that there is no cap on capitalization of the company. What is required is actually paid up, not the usual capital and paid up. So we have a gap of about 1.5 million shares between the 8 point something we are now and the 10 billion that is the capital base of the company. What are we doing about this? We have up to next year to take a decision on that. For me, I would be saying that since we have a very robust retained earning of the company, it will not be too much to convert that to a bonus issue for shareholders. Just 1.5 billion shares, which means it's probably going to be 1/10 or 1/8 or something like that. So I am appealing that instead of canceling with the robust retained earning we have, that we should convert it to bonus to shareholders. I want to appreciate this company on page 247 to 249, which carries the donations that we made. More so that we have actually separated all the countries where we have our business there from what happened in Nigeria, which is good. So we do not lump up all these things. Then with this page, we know that in Ghana, this is what we did. In Senegal, this is what we did. And in Nigeria, this is what we did. But I want to, on behalf of shareholders, appreciate this company for the donation towards COVID, which we made, which is for the COVID itself, it took a lot of money, about 1 trillion, For the COVID, it took 1,750 million naira out of the donations we made. It is very clear that we are very much inclined in saving human life. So on behalf of shareholders, I want to say thank you for that decision that we have taken on COVID. Mr. Chairman, this annual report is qualified to be a case study in any university because of the disclosures there. And I want us to continue that way, to make it, because we have used it to teach some other people to say, go and learn from this. The disclosure is fantastic. So I want to appreciate the company secretaries, the two companies, the deputy and the company secretary, and the management, including the board, for actually doing this. The sustainability issue there is also good, and that's the one they tag Aliko, Dangote, sorry. Yeah, it's called the Dangote way, which is very good. And I wish that with that Dangote way, it will touch everybody in this country, because Dangote is ours, and we are for Dangote. Mr. Chairman, once again, congratulations for this annual general meeting and the actions taken in this annual report given to us. Thank you, and God bless every one of us. Save us from coronavirus. God bless us.
Thank you. Thank you, Sasoni. I will answer some of the questions that you raised in terms of, we say, cost of, I'll come to you, BC, cost of, cement. The gap of cost of cement, our own cost, is totally different than what is happening in the market. The price you are quoting is what is happening in the market. That is purely to do with supply and demand of cement. So today, the gap is being created because all of a sudden, if you look at even our first quarter, all of a sudden, the demand has gone up by almost 40% because of reasons of, people anticipating either it's devaluation or they're anticipating, safeguarding their wealth. So everybody's going into buildings, properties, and co. So all those things have actually increased the demand. Plus the monetary policies of when you take your money to the bank, you don't get enough interest. So people just decided to put up, buildings. So there's demand, which we now announced a few weeks back that we're trying our best to ramp up, Benue. We're also hoping that in the next 60 to 90 days, we'll start our operations in Okbila. We're also looking at, finishing our power plant, additional power plant in Obajana, which will also bring in more capacity, and that will help to dampen the, demand. Because if you look at it really, you even said it in our own profitability. Well, actually, if you take the exchange rate and co, we're even making more money before than now because we have not increased prices in a couple of, since 2019, our factory price has actually remained the same, which is not really, it's not something that we can sustain. Reason being that, people are forgetting that most of our costs also, not most, more than 50% of our costs are dollarized. The gas we consume is in dollars. So the more the rate of exchange move, we pay more in naira terms. Our gypsum is not available here. We import gypsum. We import also our own diesel, because most of the diesel that is available locally is not good. It's destroying our trucks and also our mining equipment. So we have to import our own diesel. Explosives are being imported by, suppliers, and the more the exchange rate moves, they'll also charge us spare parts. So there are a lot of components that are, in dollars. It's not everything is naira. Limestone, yes, is available locally. All other materials are available locally. So we have to distinguish the two. So I hope that answers your question, right? The other one you talk about, yes, the profitability of 2018 and 2019. The difference is that, yes, we had some tax credit, and that was the difference, between 2000. You are talking about, page 6, right? Yeah, page 6, which you said that profit after tax. Right? Okay. That's the reason, is because we had, we have overpaid, and I think there was our pioneer status was reinstated. So that was really what happened, and that's why you saw that the profit of 2018 is by far higher than the other, of recent years, 2019 and 2020. The share buyback that we have is not really to buy the minority shares. That is why we're actually, pleading with everybody to participate. It's technically like giving money back to the shareholders. So, shareholders should participate. If you have shares you want to you want to sell, the company will buy. So it is for everybody, it's not for minority shares. And, we too, if we feel like, selling our shares, we will sell our own shares. So it's not all, it's actually giving back money to the shareholders. And that actually gave an answer to the last point which you raised. You said that, yes, we should do bonus issue. I think we are paying a lot back to the shareholders. If we do bonus issue, it is contradictory to share buyback. We cannot do share buyback and then go and now create another headache by doing bonus, issues. So I hope this answers all your questions. The other countries too, we are doing CSR. You mentioned Ghana and Sierra Leone. We are also doing some CSR, but it's not commensurate to what we are doing here in Nigeria. So all countries who are participating in the CSR. It's not that we are only doing everything here in Nigeria. No, all the countries. If you follow the report, which we have, spent almost 4 billion doing CSR, which is, I think, a sizable amount. Thank you. BC.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, directors present, regulatory authorities, my co-shareholders, good morning.
Morning.
Mr. Chairman, first and foremost, I will start my comments by commending the chairman, Alhaji Aliko Dangote, through his foundation for the donation of 2.5 billion towards the COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you very much, sir. Secondly, Mr. Chairman, I want to commend our company for the successful issuance of Series 1 bond of 100 billion, of Series 1 bond of 100 billion under its 300 billion bond program. This is also highly commendable. Also, I commend the board for the successful repurchase of 0.24% of its shares at an average price of 243 naira, as seen on page 103. Lastly, Mr. Chairman, because I don't want to take much of your time. Lastly, that is going to be my only question, sir. Mr. Chairman, I observed that West Africa imported over 18 million tons of cement and clinker. Sir, how do you hope to address this and make West and Central Africa to become exporter of cement and clinker, taking advantage of African Free Continental Trade Agreement? Thank you for the opportunity given to me.
Thank you, BC. Thank you. Well, for us to do that, we have to increase more capacity so that we can fully satisfy the other demands by other countries in Africa. And you can see with our own preparedness for that, we've actually built 2 terminals, which they are all commissioned, right? In One and also here in Lagos. We are still operating them, but slowly. We don't want to export a lot of cement for now, since there is a bit of shortage locally. Any other? Nona?
The Chairman, other members of the board, very distinguished fellow shareholders. For the records, my name's Nona Awo. I want to also join the first speaker on the note to the volume of information that this annual account does present. And that itself makes life easier for any investor who really wants to invest in the company. And it's on that note that I want to start on page 3. Page 3 talks about 10 reasons why you should invest in the company. But once you also get such information, you also begin to ask yourself, yes, if there are 8 reasons why I need to invest in the company, are there other reasons or other things that the company needs to do to be able to improve that number or improve the quality of even the 8 of the reason that you've given? So it's in that regard that I will be looking at page 226 and 227. On those 2 pages, it's still obvious that for the 7th straight years that we've not been able to get the subsidiaries to become profitable. And interestingly, the auditors also highlighted that in their key audit matter on page 155. But even if you take it further in the same account on page 184, you still find the same challenge of loss posting. So the question I will be asking is that how many of the subsidiaries, the way they are now, 9, how many of them are making profit? And what is it that we can do to fast forward the profit-making process in the ones that are currently not doing so? And the reason I'm particularly interested in this is that if you relate page 11 and page 22, that has to do with African Continental Trade Agreement, it also gives us an opportunity to be so we can make additional money if things go right. But much more is the fact that the issue of our investment in Asia, which itself could be a source of importation for us, and then also a source of money making for us, which seems to be silent. I raised that last year, but I don't think that anything has been said in this account in terms of having it addressed. Again, this is linked to what you have in this account, which is a global position that the per capita consumption of cement in Africa is low. But if we also don't have an inroad into North Africa, which even has a higher capacity to consume than West Africa, then it also means that with that trade agreement, we may not be able to take full advantage of what ordinarily should come. I'm also interested going forward on page 84 and 85, and that has to do with CO2 emission, its management, especially given that the 2 biggest plants in Nigeria are also contributing bigger sizes to that emission. What are we doing in that regard? And I'll also be interested as to what we're doing in terms of site rehabilitation. Yes, we have some money set aside, but what is it that we're doing with the money to make sure that those sites don't also become a source of challenge for us as we move down the line? Mr. Chairman, let me say that the issue of energy cost is still a challenge for us. Yes, I know that energy is a major input in cement production. But on page 101 and 186, I don't find any information as to what we are likely to do using alternate energy. Even energy recapture on environmental reports is also silent on it. So I will be interested in those 2 areas. Mr. Chairman, I think that it will also not be fair not to confirm the fact that the buyback, given the price today in the market, it's been an advantage to people who sold. Some of us which we join in selling. Because if I sold at 243, the price is currently struggling around 200. I probably will have made money. And then, you know, I will miss the dividend, but I think I will have also made money. But I will look at it when the share buyback reopens and see how, you know. Mr. Chairman, let me close on the note of 3 items that I want to take together. First is that this account is also a major lesson for a number of business starters and business owners as to how to reward a system. Without sounding nice, because for people who know me, if I need to tell it, I will tell it the way it is. If you look at page 146, given the contribution of directors, you are not the highest paying director in the company. But I know that when it comes to the distribution of dividends, you'll be the highest beneficiary. And that's one major lesson that Nigerian entrepreneurs need to understand. Don't kill a business. Because we've seen some of the things that happened in a number of places in the last couple of years. Allow the business thrive and do well. And then wait at the end of the road and collect good dividends. But Mr. Chairman, I know that you were refused admission into the military. I was told then because of your height. But if you pay 16 naira 3 times, it means that you are learning how to do attention, and attention is only made for military people. So let's see what we'll do next year. So I will not be considering you as standing in an attention position. And I also think that it's important that going forward, Mr. Chairman.
Are you looking for more money?
Certainly, because the chairman himself is looking for more dividend. But Mr. Chairman, on a serious note, I also think that if we are paying 16 naira final dividend, if we do a split of the dividend and do an interim at the end of our half-year results, which will be ready in July, and which means that the dividend is possible in August and September, that itself may do us a lot of good. So it's something I would want the board to go and consider, and also consider it along the size that, having done the size of donation that we did this year, we may need to refocus in 2022 to taking health and education as a major platform of we having to push investment in Africa. Because those two have a way of rewarding any system far more than some of the things that we have done in the year under review. And it's on that note, I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, well, most of our African operations now, I think almost 100% now they are making, profit. It's true, because most of the investments that we have made there, it is like a loan from the parent company to them. So we charge them also interest. So on a bidder level, they are all, making, money. Because if you look at our first quarter accounts, they contributed almost over 30 billion, right, Michelle? Every day. Yeah, last year was about 72 billion that they made, but obviously we also charge them interest, so they have to pay interest to the parent company. So it's like in and out. But I mean, for now, a lot of them we have, there is a good demand, and all of them, we're doing much better than even last year. So hopefully this year, you see the results. The result will change, dramatically. And we're continuously working on the most countries where we had difficulties and co, like Tanzania and co, with power plant and co. Most of those issues have actually been addressed. So I think, we're on the right setting. It took a bit of time, but we're doing much better. And I think on the CO2 emission, we're doing quite a lot, and also the site restoration. Maybe, Michelle, if you can just explain for a second what you are doing, at the management level. Let me give you this. Yeah, it's okay.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. For CO2 reduction, there are mainly two avenues. One is introducing alternative fuel, and all our plants in DCP, Nigeria and Pan-Africa have investment ongoing with ambitious rate of substitution. So this is the main avenue. The second avenue, of course, is to reduce consumption of energy per ton of cement, which is a technical improvement, kiln by kiln. And so we are pursuing these two avenues strongly, and we are yet to set a target for CO2 reduction, which is a work ongoing. For rehabilitation, nothing specific at this stage. As you see, the provisions are there, and but we have a plan, and it will be followed as per the rules in Nigeria of rehabilitation quarries. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. But we're doing quite a lot in terms of the, reducing the cost of energy, like what Nona said, because of the alternative fuel, and also, reducing, gas is a bit expensive, and because of the escalation price almost every year, and then when the exchange rate changes, you pay more. But relatively, when you look at it, we are not at the bottom, we are doing much better than our peers in the business. Yeah, Dr. Farouk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, let me commend you for the share buyback the company has initiated. Mr. Chairman, one way to improve the earnings of shareholders through dividend is by share buyback. When stocks are undervalued, this is one way to strengthen our stock. And the more shares you have in the company, the less dividend we will get. And I also want to really support what Mr. Nona Awo has said regarding interim dividend. Mr. Chairman, this company is doing very well. Even if we are going to pay the same dividend of 16 naira for this financial year, nothing stops the company from at least taking 10% of the half-year profit to distribute it to us. Mr. Chairman, you are aware that naira is every day being devalued. So if you give us an interim dividend, it is going to help us, because it will strengthen. Inflation is going up. Naira is being devalued. So I would really, Mr. Chairman, want to plead with you to start this issue of giving shareholders interim dividend. Mr. Chairman, I also want to commend the company on a number of developments that happened within the financial year. We have optimized. One thing we have done is the export of clinker, and I think this is going to add to our revenue. Mr. Chairman, your economic pillar is one of the things that has really helped this country. Like you said in your statement, we were importing cement. And today, through Dangote cement, Nigeria is even exporting. So it reduces wastage of our foreign exchange. It strengthens our economy. If all other sectors have emulated you, Nigeria would have been better off today. Now, looking at the mission of the company, Mr. Chairman, again, I commend you, because anybody who look at the mission will know that you have shareholders in your heart. And the mission says that it is to deliver strong returns to our shareholders. You have given priority to us on the mission of the company. Mr. Chairman, I also want to say that your maiden clinker shipment, your maiden bond issuance, your successful share buyback, 3 million metric tons increase in the Nigerian production, you are commencing of 2 export terminals, commissioning of 2 export terminals, and commissioning the power plant in Tanzania. These are all things that we are happy you have done. And I think the share price of Dangote Cement, really, Mr. Chairman, I believe it is undervalued. We are paying 16 naira dividend. There are companies that are not even paying up to 2% of the stock price. Yet the price is going up. And I think with all what you are doing, we as investors, we are happy and we believe we are going to make more profitability in the future. Mr. Chairman, I also want to ask some questions here. The first question I want to ask is, I know we have returned to production in Benue Cement. Mr. Chairman, how many metric tons do you think this will add to our business this year? Also, is it the Edo plant? I want to know what we are doing and what production level we're having there. Also, if you look at the competition, Mr. Chairman, what is our competitive advantage in the country regarding, if you compare us with the 2 other major cement producers, and how do you think we will improve on our competitive advantage? Mr. Chairman, looking at Ghana, when we start exporting clinker to Ghana, you mentioned that this is because they don't have enough limestone. We need to supplement by exporting clinker to Ghana. Mr. Chairman, there are one or two grammatical errors. One relates to the report by KPMG. I've drawn the attention of the representative here on page 158. Since he's reporting in the past tense, so the word appears should be changed to appeared because we are reporting in the past. Mr. Chairman, also looking at IFRS regulations, we should no longer use the word balance sheet in our reporting. And I think on page 3, the word balance sheet rather than comprehensive and separate financial statements has been used. I think the auditors or the secretariat should take note of this. Mr. Chairman, I want to conclude by saying that I'm happy with your corporate governance. We have diversification regionally. You have brought 5 independent directors. We have 20% representation of females on our board. I'm hoping that you will increase it to 30%. But Mr. Chairman, there is one thing I noticed, and that is regarding the composition of the committee members. I realized that Alhaji Audu Antata and Mr. Shankar are only on one board committee, whereas Michael Davis is on 3. perhaps you need to make some adjustment. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Dr. Farouk. Okay, the one you raised on, well, thank you for all your comments. The one that you raised in terms of interim dividend, the board will look at it and we will see if it's feasible and what can be done. And then the one of ramping up of Benue. You know, we closed down Benue for almost about 4.5 years or so, so it's taking a little bit of time. But I think in the next 60 days or so, Benue should be, you know, up and running at a good capacity. We're doing almost like about, you know, maybe 60% now, yeah. Yeah, so we're doing about almost 5,000 tons per day, so we're ramping up. So hopefully in the next 60 days, putting up other things. You know, the only problem with Benue is that we have power plant which we are building, you know, because the old one was actually designed to take Nigeria's low fuel oil. And that low fuel oil is not available since the refineries are not working. So it's either low fuel oil or diesel. So we're actually using diesel to generate power, which is very, very expensive. But we're doing that just because to increase supply into the market. So that next year when you see our energy costs, you shouldn't shout. It might be one of the reasons, you know. Otherwise, Nona will say that we're not efficient. But it's just that we need to produce. Okpila, hopefully, you know, we're pushing to finish. The factory is almost finished. The power plant is almost finished, and we want to see that we commission this thing, you know, before August, hopefully. We have a competitive advantage, definitely, over our peers, and that one you should read our own annual report and their own. You look at our own, you know, market share, you know, the whole report. That's why our report is very detailed. So you should read our own and read theirs, and that one I think will give you a proper answer. On Ghana, yeah, Ghana, what we have now is actually cement terminal, but going forward we are going to build a grinding mill, which means from that time onwards we can start exporting you know, clinker from Nigeria when we create more capacity. On the composition of the board, yes, thank you for, you know, highlighting your this, and we'll look at it and then we'll do the needful. So thank you very much. I think we spent over an hour, you know, answering questions and calls, so maybe we need to move to the next item. The first resolution is in the respect of audited financial statements. Would a shareholder kindly move that the annual reports and accounts, including the audited financial statements for the year ended 31st of December 2020, together with the reports of the directors, auditors, and audit committee thereon, be and hereby accepted? Yes, Sonny.
Mr. Chairman, I, Sir Sonny, also I move on that resolution.
Thank you, Sonny. Would another shareholder please rise and second this motion? Yes, BC.
I so do, Mr. Chairman. BC Bakari is the name.
Thank you, Ms. BC Bakari. I now put the motion to a vote. You have 20 seconds to vote. Please cast your votes. Can you explain to them again how to? Yeah, you sit.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The voting on the first resolution will now commence. Voting is hereby open. We can press our respective keypads in line with our voting decisions. Please press your respective keypads.
Yes? It's one.
We have 10 seconds to go. Voting is hereby concluded. Thank you. Can we have the results displayed? Okay, thank you. So we have 398 shareholders holding 15,200,785,153 shares, representing 100%, who have voted in favor of the first resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cole. Following the results of the voting as announced by the registrar, I hereby declare that the resolution to accept the annual reports and accounts, including the audited financial statements for the year ended 31st December 2020, together with the reports of the directors, auditors, and the audit committee thereon, has been passed. Agenda item number 2, we now move to the second item on the agenda, which is declaration of a dividend. The Board of Directors has recommended that a dividend payment of 16 naira per share, subject to withholding tax, be declared in respect of the year ended December 31st, 2020, and made payable by May 27th, 2021. Are there questions before the motion is put to the meeting? Since there are no further questions, we shall proceed. Would a shareholder kindly move that a dividend of 16 naira per share, subject to withholding tax, be declared in respect of the year ended December 31st, 2020? Yes, Dr. Farouk.
Mr. Chairman, I move the motion for the payment of the dividend of 16 naira.
Thank you, Dr. Farouk. Would another shareholder please rise and second this motion, please? Yes, no, no.
I do second. Thank you.
Thank you, Nona. I now put the motion to a vote. You have 20 seconds to vote, please.
The voting has now commenced. We request that you kindly press your respective keypads. Thank you. Okay, voting session can now close. We wait for the results to be displayed. The result is hereby displayed, and we have 398 shareholders holding 15,205,115,014 shares, representing 100%, and who have voted in favor of the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Cole. Following the results of the voting as announced by the registrar, I hereby declare that the resolution to declare a dividend of 16 naira per share in respect of the period ended December 31st, 2020 has been passed. The next item is the election and re-election of directors. Before we proceed further, I would like to mention that the registrar of directors' attendance at the board meetings during the period under review is available for inspection in accordance with Section 284, subsection 2 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020. At this meeting, Mr. Emmanuel Ikazobo, Mrs. Dorothy Ufot, SAN, Mr. Deva Kumar Edwin, Ms. Anes Ebi, MFR, and Mr. Olakule Alake are retiring from the board in compliance with Section 285 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020, and being eligible have offered themselves for re-election. In addition, in the course of the year, Ms. Belina Morol was appointed as a non-executive director in compliance with the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020. Her appointment is to be approved at this meeting. Are there any questions before the motion are put to the meeting, please. The motions, yeah, before we put the motions, do you have any other questions?
Chairman, with due respect to your office, I would humbly suggest that you move and then the fewer number here can second, rather than we moving and seconding. And the process
It's optional. Okay,
the process will also fast forward a little more.
Okay. Yeah. So let me say that I move. Can somebody Okay. Okay, so instead of doing it, asking a shareholder to. Okay, I will. So, re-election of Emmanuel Ikazobo. I hereby move that Emmanuel Ikazobo be and is hereby re-elected as a director of the company. Would another shareholder please rise and second the motion? Yes, Sonny Owens. He's around, very much around.
He managed to come in. I second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Sonny also, please. I now put the motion to a vote. You have 20 seconds to vote, to cast your vote.
The voting session has now commenced. We would request that you kindly press your keypad in accordance to your choice of voting. Thank you. 5 seconds to go. Okay, session can now end. Thank you. We await results to be displayed.
It was displayed, right?
Okay. The result is hereby displayed, and we have 397 shareholders holding 15,208,730,327 shares, representing 99.97, who have voted in favor of the resolution. We have 2 shareholders who have voted against and holding 5,051,277 shares, representing 0.03%. And we have 1 shareholder holding 6 shares and representing 0.000 units, who has abstained in the voting of the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, the Registrar. Following the results of the voting as announced by the Registrar, I hereby declare that the resolution to elect Emmanuel Ikazobo as a director of the company has been passed. Re-election of Mrs. Dorothy Ufot. I hereby move that Ms. Dorothy Ufot be and is hereby re-elected as a director of the company. Would another shareholder please rise and second this motion, please? Yes, Ms. Bisi Bakare.
Bisi Bakare, Adumu.
Thank you, Bisi. Register. I now put the motion to a vote. You have 20 seconds to vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The voting session can now open. We can now vote using our respective devices. The session is open to vote. We'll do 10 seconds more. 5 seconds more. The voting session can now close. Thank you.
Thank you very much, for...
Okay, the results have now been displayed, and we have 396 shareholders holding 15,186,316,301 shares, representing 99.9%, and who have voted in favor. And then we have 1 shareholder who has voted against, holding 14,465,415 shares and representing 0.1%, who has voted against the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cole. Following the results of the voting as announced by the Registrar, I hereby declare that the resolution to re-elect Ms. Dorothy Ufot as a director of the company has been passed. Re-election of Devakumar VG Edwin. I hereby move that Mr. Devakumar VG Edwin be and is hereby re-elected as a director of the company. Would another shareholder please rise and second the motion, please? Okay, Dr. Farooq, please.
Mr. Chairman, I rise to second the motion.
Thank you, Dr. Farooq. I now put the motion to a vote. You have 20 seconds to vote. Please cast your vote.
The voting session is now opened. Kindly let's use our respective keypads, voting in accordance with our choice. Have we all pressed our respective keypads, please? Ten seconds to go. 5 seconds. The voting has now ended. Thank you. The results are hereby displayed. We have 397 shareholders holding 15 billion shares, 200,782,144 shares representing 100% and who have voted in favor of the resolution, while we have one shareholder who has voted against the resolution and holding 6 shares. Thank you.
Following the results of the voting as announced by the registrar, I hereby declare that the resolution to re-elect Mr. Devakumar VG Edwin as the director of the company has been passed. Re-election of Mr. Ernest Ebi, MFR. I hereby move that Mr. Ernest Ebi be and is hereby re-elected as the director of the company. Would another shareholder please rise and second this motion? Yes, Nona.
Mr. Chairman, I do second.
Thank you, Nona. I now put the motion to a vote. You have 20 seconds to vote. Please cast your vote.
The voting session has now commenced. "20 seconds to go, please. Can we?
Is it on?
Camera? It's on.
Yeah.
Thank you. We have 5 seconds to go. The session can now end. Thank you. Okay, and we have the results displayed. We have 397 shareholders holding 15,200,782,144 shares, representing 100% and who have all voted in favor. And we have one shareholder with 6 shares who have voted against. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Registrar. Following the results of the voting as announced by the registrar, I hereby declare that the resolution to re-elect Mr. Ernest Ebi as the director of the company has been passed. Re-election of Mr. Olakule Alake. I hereby move that Mr. Olakule Alake be and is hereby re-elected as a director of the company. Would another shareholder please rise to second the motion, please? Yes, Sir Mosu.
I rise to second that motion, Sir Sonny Mosu.
Thank you, Sir Sonny Mosu. I now put the motion to a vote. You have 20 seconds to vote. Please cast your vote.
Voting has commenced. We request that you kindly press your devices in accordance to your voting decision. We have 5 seconds to go, and the voting can now close. The result is hereby displayed. We have 396 shareholders holding 15,177,982,032 shares, representing 99.85%, who have all voted in favor. And we have 2 shareholders holding 22,800,118 shares, representing 0.15%, who have voted against this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Registrar. Following the results of the voting as announced by the Registrar, I hereby declare that the resolution to elect Mr. Olakule Alake as a director of the company has been passed. Appointment of Ms. Belina Marol. I hereby move that Ms. Belina Marol be and is hereby appointed as the director of the company. Would another shareholder please rise and second the motion? Yes, Bisi.
Bisi Bakari, I second the motion.
Thank you, Bisi. I now put the motion to a vote. You have 20 seconds to vote. Please cast your vote.
Okay, voting has now commenced. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can we press our respective keypads or devices in accordance with our decisions? We'll do 5 seconds more, and then voting can now close. Have we all pressed our respective keypads? Okay, thank you. We have the results here displayed. We have 397 shareholders holding 15,200,781,716 shares, representing 100%, and all voted in favor of the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Registrar. Following the results of the voting as announced by the Registrar, I hereby declare the resolution to appoint Ms. Belina Marol as a director of the company has been passed. Dear shareholders, I hereby present Ms. Emmanuel Ikazobo, Ms. Ernest A.B. MFR, Ms. Dorothy Ofort SAN, Mr. Deva Kumar VG Edwin, Ms. Olakule Alake, and Ms. Belina Marol. Please join me in congratulating our newly elected and re-elected directors while we wish them the best in the service of the company. I would like to call Ms. Emmanuel Ikazobo to say a few words by thanking the shareholders.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On behalf of the directors, I would like to say thank you to the shareholders for the confidence reposed in us, and we want to assure you that we'll be there to serve the company for its progress and for ensuring that the company becomes the #1 company in the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Emmanuel, because the company in general meeting may determine. Are there questions before the motion is put to the meeting? Since there are no further questions, we shall proceed. Would a shareholder kindly move that the directors be and are hereby authorized to fix the remuneration and expenses of the auditors in respect of the year ended December 31st, 2020. Okay, Dr. Baru.
Mr. Chairman, I second the motion.
No, you seconded the motion? Yeah. Okay, so I think I now put the motion to a vote. You have 20 seconds to vote. Please cast your vote.
Voting session has commenced. Kindly use your respective keypads, voting in line with your decisions. We have 5 seconds to go. Have we all pressed our various keypads? Okay.
Voting can now close. Okay. Thank you. So we have 397 shareholders holding 15,200,782,710 shares, representing 100%, and all voted in favor of the resolution. And we have one shareholder holding 6 shares who abstained from voting. Thank you.
Thank you, Registrar. Following the results of the voting as announced by the Registrar, I hereby declare that the resolution to authorize directors to fix the remuneration and expenses of the auditors in respect of the year ended December 31st, 2020 has been passed. Agenda item number 5. The next item on the agenda is the election of the shareholders, representatives of the Audit Committee. Section 404, subsection 3 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020 provides that a maximum of 5 members of the Audit Committee consisting of 2 directors and 3 representatives of the shareholders be elected at an annual general meeting. The Act further provides that in the case of the election of the shareholders' representatives, nominations should be received not later than 21 days before the date of the meeting. The Board of Directors have nominated the following directors for election as members of the Audit Committee: Mr. Ernest Ebi, MFR, Mr. Olakule Alake. Since the Board has made valid nominations as required by the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020, there is no need to vote on them. I hereby declare that the 2 directors are hereby appointed as members of the Audit Committee of Dangote Cement PLC. Ladies and gentlemen, there are 3 more seats on the Audit Committee to be filled in accordance with Section 404 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020. As of May 5th, 2021, 84 nominations were received by the Company Secretary from the shareholders for election as members of the statutory committee. Of these 78 candidates,
84.
Huh?
84 or 78? Which one?
No, we received 84. Okay. But of these, 78 candidates have withdrawn their nominations. The remaining nominees, therefore, are Mr. Robert Ade Odiachi, Mr. Sherif Yusuf Mojirola, Mr. Nicholas Nyamali, Mr. Moses Idowu Ijayekule, Mr. Oladepo Olalekan Adeshina, then Mr. Ayo Ade Adeshola. That's 6, yes. Are there questions before the election commences? No questions? Okay. Since there are no further questions, we shall proceed now. Nomination of Mr. Ade Robert Odiachi. Will all the shareholders in favor of the nomination of Mr. Ade Robert Odiachi please? Oh, no, sorry.
Please, I usually advise chairman to allow the registrar to conduct this aspect.
On?
Yes, and the result will be delivered to you.
Okay. So can you do that? These are the names. There are 6 names here. Yeah, you can take the book. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I would call out the names of the nominees and would request that we cast our votes by raising up our hands. The votes will be counted and then the results will be communicated. Can I ask that Mr. Robert Ade Odiachi steps forward? Thank you. Can I ask that Mr. Sherif Yusuf Mujirola, if here, steps forward? Sir, you can come in. Come here, sir. Can I ask Mr. Nicholas Nyamali to step forward if he's here? Mr. Moses Idowu Ijaye Kunle if he's here. Mr. Oladepo Olalekon Adeshino if he's here. And Mr. Ayoade Adesola. Those in favor of Mr. Robert Odiachi, can we raise up our hands while we count? Thanks. Yes.
You can see the power in conducting election. Booking.
Thank you.
You ask the richest man in Africa to raise his hand properly.
I'm sorry, Chairman. Can those in favor of Mr. Sheriff Yusuf raise their hands? Thank you. We'll go to those in favor of Mr. Nicholas Inyamali. Thank you. And then we'll move to those in favor of Mr. Moses Idowu. Thank you. And then we move to those in favor of Mr. Ayo Ade Ayoshola. Thank you. And then we move to Mr. Oladepo Olalekon.
Additional.
Additional. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so I'll announce the results. Okay.
You can go and see.
I'll announce the results. We have 7 votes for Mr. Robert Ade Odiachi. We have 7 votes for Mr. Sheriff Yusuf Mojirola. We have 7 votes for Mr. Nicholas Nyamali. And for Mr. Moses Idowu, we have nil votes. For Mr. Oladepo Olalekon, we have nil votes. And then for Mr. Ayoade Adeshola, we have nil votes. Thank you.
Thank you, Registrar. Thank you very much. Following the results of the election, would a shareholder kindly move that the following people be and are hereby elected as members of this?
You should have waited for the result to get to you now. You start announcing.
No, I've heard already. I don't need to read it now. I've heard already, so she has already said it, so I heard it. It's in order to save time so that you can go and do your other business.
What other business?
Yes.
This is our business.
Yes, that's right. So, following the results of the election, would a shareholder kindly move that the following people be and are hereby elected as members of the statutory audit committee to serve until the conclusion of the next AGM, which is Mr. Robert Ade Odiachi, Mr. Sharif Yusuf Mojirola, and Mr. Nicholas Nyamali. Would another shareholder please rise and second the motion? Okay, including Ms. Olakule Alake and Mr. Ernest Ebi. Yes, so somebody please rise and second this motion.
I so move, Mr. Chairman. Mrs. Bisi Bakari.
No, it's second.
Okay, I second the motion. Sorry.
Thank you. Would all those in favor of this motion please signify by raising their right hands? Would anyone objecting to this motion please signify by raising his right hand? As there are no objecting motions, I hereby declare that the following people be and are hereby elected as members of the Statutory Audit Committee until the conclusion of the next AGM, which is Mr. Olakule Alake, Mr. Ernest Ebi, Mr. Robert Ade Odiachi, Mr. Sherif Yusuf Majurola, Mr. Nicholas Nyamali. Dear shareholders, I hereby present you the members of the Statutory Audit Committee who will serve until the conclusion of the next AGM. So please join me in congratulating the members of the Statutory Audit Committee whilst wishing them the best in the service of our company. And I would like to maybe call on the chairman of the Statutory Audit Committee to say a few words.
Thank you, and I assure you that we will diligently discharge the responsibilities conferred on us to the best of our ability and on behalf for the benefit of Dangote Cement PLC. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Robert Ade Odiachi. Item agenda 6. The next item on the agenda is the disclosure of the remuneration of managers. Section 257 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020 provides that the compensation of managers shall be disclosed to members at the annual general meeting. Accordingly, I hereby disclose that this item has been provided for on page 187 of the annual report and accounts. Thank you. We'll proceed to agenda item 7. The next item on the agenda is a special resolution for the approval of the remuneration for the directors. The directors are proposing the sum of 5 million naira per annum for the chairman and 4 million naira per annum for each non-executive director. These are the amounts as in the preceding year. Are there questions before the motion is put to the meeting?
No.
No. Mr. Chairman, recall that 2 years ago, I said that you should review the remuneration of directors. We have made 37.7% increase on our profitability. And Mr. Chairman, if you compare us with our peers, we are the biggest cement industry. We are the biggest in terms of EBITDA, in terms of revenue, in terms of profitability, in terms of expansion. Mr. Chairman, directors should be remunerated well. And I'm still appealing to you to reconsider and look at the devaluation of Naira. With the kind of result we are having, the directors deserve more than 5 million Naira, Mr. Chairman. So I'm appealing to the board to reconsider this maybe for the next AGM. And on this note, I second the motion.
Thank you. Huh? Okay, please.
Mr. Chairman, my observation is on page 148 of the annual report, which seems not to conform with the figures you have just announced. If you look at that page, director's fee is saying in 2019, yes, 5 million for the chairman, 4 million to other directors. But look at 2020, it's saying 26.6 million, another one 25 points. So I don't know how to reconcile the two figures. So I need you to really give us an explanation on that, because we are actually dealing with director's fee. The allowances are also stated there separately from the column of director's fee.
What is the difference you're asking for now?
The difference is much, sir. It's much. You said you sought our approval for director's fee, which is the responsibility of the AGM, and you said for the chairman 5 million, and for other directors.
These are the directors' allowances. You know, other expenses are not in them.
No, if you look at the table you have presented to us,
yes,
it speaks clearly. Other allowances is there. Now, the sitting allowances is also there. So the third aspect of it is the fee. And that's why Dr. Farouk raised the issue that the fee is small. So, but I just want an explanation as to the first column, which is carrying 26. At
26 million.
Yes. At the end, the total is also stated there very clearly. For the chairman, 49 million, including all other allowances, including sitting and other allowances.
Yes.
So I just want a clarification. There is difference between...
Yeah, but if you look at now, for example, the one of mine,
yes,
at the end of it, the total,
yes,
there's actually no difference. The only difference is 68 naira. Right? The next one was Sani, you know, okay. Give him.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you look at it, it's a reclassification from 2019
yes,
to 2020. The first column there has other allowances apart from the fees.
Please just look at it because it's actually confusing.
I think there's a reclassification. If you look at the 2019 figure,
yes,
it's the same as is 41 in other allowances for 2019 as against 19,400 for 2020. What they've done basically is to reclassify those ones they call other allowances into the first column. That's why
which is not supposed, if they had taken the 2019, which is clear here, and which is in line with what the chairman has just said.
So included in
that would not have created any argument.
I think it's the classification. I think this has been done. Just a reclassification from other allowances to director's fees and allowances. Thank you.
So I think we need to really do it in a way that it will be in line, especially with what Dr. Farouk has said.
Okay. Yeah. Point noted. Yeah, Nona.
With due respect, Mr. Chairman, I saw the same. That was the first thing that struck me. But I think that what is missing here was just a note that in 2019, fees and other allowances stood alone. But in 2020, fees and other allowances were taken together. But if you ask me, since fees to a large extent is what is approved for non-executive directors, I would prefer a situation where we are standing on the whole leg so that the fees will stand alone and other allowances will stand alone. That for me is a better way to present than the classification that our auditors have done this year.
Okay, it's a matter of classification.
Yeah.
We'll clarify that next time. Will the shareholder kindly move, since that we don't have any other further questions? Okay. Affect, yes.
Mr. Chairman, I move for the approval of the director's fee.
I second the approval of the motion for the approval of the director's fee.
Okay. Are there questions before the motion is put to the meeting? Since there are no further questions, I now put the motion to a vote. You have 20 seconds.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The voting can now commence. We request that you kindly press your respective keypads in line with your voting decision. We will do 10 seconds more, 5 seconds, and then the voting can now close. Thank you. We'll just wait a bit for the results to be displayed, and here the result is. So we have 397 shareholders holding 15,200,781,716, representing 100%, who have all voted in favor of the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Following the results of the voting as announced by the registrar, I hereby declare that the special resolution to approve the remuneration of the chairman of 5 million naira and the non-executive directors of 4 million naira each for the year ending December 31st, 2021 has been passed. Item 8. The next item on the agenda is a special resolution for the approval of the renewal of the share buyback program established pursuant to the resolution of the company dated January 22, 2020. On such terms and conditions and within such timelines as the board may determine, subject to obtaining requisite regulatory approvals. Your company had established a share buyback program for the repurchase of up to 10% of its total issued shares from the shareholders. However, the COVID-19 pandemic made it challenging to fully implement the program as planned. With the stabilization of the stock market and improvement in economic conditions, the board of directors has decided that it is in the best interest of our company to undertake further tranches of the program. Are there questions before the motion is put to the meeting? Since there are no further questions, we shall proceed. Would a shareholder kindly move that a renewal of the share buyback program established pursuant to the resolution of the company dated January 22nd, 2020, on such terms and conditions and within such time limits as the board may determine, subject to obtaining requisite regulatory approvals, be and is hereby approved? Would another shareholder please second this motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, I second that motion.
Thank you. I now put the motion to a vote. You have 20 seconds to vote, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The voting has now commenced. Can we kindly press our respective keypads in line with our voting decisions? We'll do 10 seconds more, 5 seconds, and then the voting can now close. Thank you. We await display of the results. The result is hereby displayed, and we have 397 shareholders holding 15,200,781,716 shares, representing 100%, and who have all voted in favor of the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Registrar. Following the results of the voting as announced by the registrar, I hereby declare that the special resolution to renew the share buyback program established pursuant to the resolution of the company dated January 22nd, 2020, on such terms and conditions and within such timelines as the board may determine, subject to obtaining requisite regulatory approvals, has been passed. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of the agenda. On behalf of the board, I thank you for your attendance at this meeting, and I wish to express our appreciation for your continued interest and support for our company over the years. You may actually, you may take your leave after the closing prayers and national anthem. May I call on Sir Sonny Omosu to please give us a closing prayer.
Please, shall we rise to pray? In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Heavenly Father, we thank you for making it a successful day at this 12th annual general meeting of Dangote Cement. Father, we thank you. We ask that you strengthen the board and management and staff of this company with all the resolutions we have taken today to bring forth enhancement in everything in the company, good profit, good turnover, and healthy environment. Father, we thank you and hand over our chairman and the directors and management to you. Please endow them with good thinking, right decision, and upon all, may your grace continue to propel them. All this I ask through Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Thank you, sir.